Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You know how much we love getting into those kind of niche topics.
Absolutely.
And this time, we're going down the rabbit hole of online tarot readings,
Oh, interested in.
specifically on platforms like YouTube,
Okay, yeah.
thinking about how readers kind of walk that line between giving people what they want to hear versus what they actually need.
Right, right.
And their sources are bringing up a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Is sugarcoating always a bad thing when it comes to tarot readings?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Especially when someone's just looking for some comfort or like a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm looking at the source material here, and it doesn't seem like a straightforward answer.
No, not at all.
Uh,
Like
uh,
when I was prepping for this, I was thinking, isn't there something to be said for offering a bit of hope?
yeah. Especially in a world that can feel pretty chaotic sometimes.
Exactly. And some of the sources pointed out that for a lot of people, those like super positive readings,
Mm-hmm.
they're like a little dose of positivity.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a little virtual hug.
Yes, helping them just get through a tough day.
Right.
Then I was reading this one article that said sugarcoating can actually lead to some kind of unrealistic expectations, setting people up for disappointment later on.
Ooh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Like if you're constantly being told everything's going to be amazing, you
Exactly.
might not be prepared when things, inevitably get a little bumpy.
Exactly. One of the studies they cited even said that folks who consistently get overly positive readings,
Okay.
they're actually way more likely to make impulsive decisions based on those readings.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like they're getting this false sense of confidence
Right.
that's not really rooted in reality.
Yeah. Because it's not really looking at the whole picture, is it?
And that made me think about it like building a house on a foundation of cotton candy.
Ooh, I like that.
It might look sweet at first, but it's not going to hold up when a storm comes along.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a solid foundation at all. So we've got comfort on the one hand, but then there's this whole other side to the argument
Yeah.
that's getting a lot of attention, especially among experienced tarot readers.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that.
So it's this idea of honest readings, putting the emphasis on truth, even if it might be a little uncomfortable at first.
Okay. I can see how that could be a tough balance to strike.
Yeah.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, a lot of the articles talked about framing those tougher messages as opportunities for self-awareness and growth.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of shying away from challenges, you face them head on.
Right. Like you're not just avoiding the hard stuff, you're using it
Right.
to learn and grow.
Exactly. One source gave a great example. They contrasted a really blunt statement. It was something like, this relationship is doomed.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Not pulling any punches there.
Right. And then they compared that to a more nuanced approach. They said something along the lines of, this relationship presents challenges that require deep introspection and work.
Okay.
So it's still being honest,
Right.
but it's offering a path forward instead of just delivering a blow.
Right. There's a sense of agency there, right? Like you're not just a passive recipient of fate.
Exactly. It's about understanding those challenges as part of a bigger journey. And that's where the reader's skill really comes in.
Yeah. Because you need to be able to deliver that truth with, I guess, a certain amount of empathy and tact.
Absolutely. And that takes practice and a deep understanding of both tarot and, human nature.
Right. It's not just about reading the cards. It's about reading the person, too.
Exactly. And then we get to this other fascinating point the sources brought up, the whole audience dynamic.
Oh, yeah. I was just getting to that.
Yeah.
Like, even when people say they want honesty,
Yeah.
they don't always react well when a reading doesn't match their expectations or what they were hoping for.
It's true. It's like they say they want the truth, but then when it's not what they wanted to hear,
Yeah.
it can get tricky.
It's almost like they're going to tarot for validation rather than for genuine insight.
Right, right. They want the cards to confirm what they already believe, even if deep down they know it might not be entirely accurate.
It's like they're looking for a mirror that only shows the good stuff.
Exactly. And, the sources pointed out that this desire for confirmation, it can actually be amplified by those sugar-coated readings.
Oh, I see what you mean.
If you're constantly getting this super positive feedback,
Yeah.
it becomes harder to accept anything else, even if it's, more realistic or could ultimately be more helpful.
So it's like a vicious cycle. You seek comfort, you get a positive reading, and then you become even more resistant to anything that challenges that kind of rosy picture.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And that can make it really challenging for readers, especially those who are trying to be authentic and provide genuine guidance.
Right, because they're caught between wanting to give people what they want and what they actually need.
Mhm.
And sometimes those two things are not the same.
It's true. It's a delicate balance, and it raises a really important question for anyone who's seeking a tarot reading. What are you really looking for? Validation or honest guidance? Are you looking for a cheerleader or a coach?
Because depending on your answer, you might need to approach tarot readings in a very different way and choose a reader who aligns with those goals. And maybe that's a good place to pause for now. This whole conversation has got me thinking about my own experiences with tarot. Have you ever gotten a reading that left you feeling, I don't know, a little bit confused or maybe even misled?
Oh, definitely. Hmm. That's a question we could probably spend a whole deep dive talking about.
Yeah.
But it makes me think about something we mentioned earlier, like the whole evolution of tarot itself.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe if we understand the history a little bit, it could give us a fresh perspective on these modern day dilemmas.
I love that idea. It's like to understand the present,
Mm-hmm.
we need to go back in time and see where it all began. So, like, where did these mysterious cards even come from?
Well, contrary to what a lot of people think, tarot wasn't always about fortune telling or divination.
Oh, really?
Well,
So, what was it about?
the earliest decks that we know of, they actually popped up in like 15th century Italy. And they were basically just fancy playing cards used for games and entertainment among the elite.
So, no, like, mystical readings back then,
Yeah,
just high society card games.
exactly. It wasn't until the late 1700s and early 1800s that people started associating tarot with like esoteric and occult practices.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's when tarot got its mystical makeover.
Right. Occultists started seeing the cards as a tool for tapping into the subconscious, exploring those archetypes,
Yeah.
those universal patterns of human behavior we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And they started to see it as a way to gain insights into like the human condition.
Okay.
They developed these elaborate systems of symbolism and interpretation, drawing on stuff like mythology, astrology, all sorts of different spiritual traditions.
That's so fascinating. So those simple playing cards, it basically transformed into a language of symbols and archetypes, a way to access like deeper layers of meaning.
Exactly. And as these ideas spread, tarot gradually transitioned from those exclusive circles to a much wider audience, gaining popularity as a form of divination and self-discovery.
And then boom, the internet comes along,
Right.
throws open the doors to the world of tarot. Suddenly, anyone with a Wi-Fi connection can learn about the cards, connect with readers, even give readings themselves.
Absolutely. And this online explosion has had a huge impact on how people perceive and interact with tarot. It's created a much more diverse and accessible landscape, which is both exciting and challenging.
Right, because on the one hand, we have more people than ever before,
Hmm.
like exploring tarot and finding meaning in it. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
there's this risk of misinformation
Yeah.
or interpretations that don't really align with those traditional systems of knowledge.
Exactly. It's like a classic double-edged sword situation.
Yeah.
The online world gives us access to incredible resources and connections, but it also requires us to be much more discerning consumers of information.
So I guess what you're saying is critical thinking is more important than ever when it comes to tarot in the digital age.
I couldn't agree more. We need to be thoughtful about the sources we engage with, the questions we ask, and the interpretations we draw from the cards.
Okay, so this brings us back to that whole tension we were talking about before. The comfort versus honesty in online readings.
Hmm.
Do you think understanding this history of tarot can help us navigate those dilemmas a little bit better?
Absolutely. When you understand the historical context, you realize that tarot is like a constantly evolving practice. You know, its meanings and applications have shifted over time, and what was considered ethical or appropriate in one era might be totally different in another.
It's like any cultural practice, really. It adapts and transforms as society changes.
Exactly. And this historical awareness can be so valuable. It reminds us that there's no one right way to approach tarot. We can draw wisdom from the past, but we also need to be open to new perspectives and interpretations.
So, while tradition is super important, we also need to acknowledge that tarot is a living, breathing practice. It keeps evolving as we do.
Precisely. And that's what makes it so fascinating. It's this bridge between ancient wisdom and modern experience,
Yeah.
constantly adapting to meet our evolving needs and our understanding of the world.
Oh, this has been so insightful. I'm like starting to see that sugar-coated versus honest debate in a whole new light.
Yeah,
It's
heck.
not just black and white. It's part of this like ongoing conversation about how we interpret and apply tarot in a rapidly changing world.
Exactly. And that conversation is only going to get more complex and nuanced as technology continues to shape the way we interact with tarot.
Oh, speaking of technology, that brings us to our final chapter, the future of tarot in the digital age.
Yeah.
We've looked back, now let's look forward.
Yeah.
What trends are you seeing emerge? And how do you think they'll impact both readers and seekers of guidance?
Well, one thing that really stands out in the sources is this trend towards personalization and interactivity in tarot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, think about AI-powered tarot apps that can, like, tailor readings to your specific questions,
That's pretty cool.
or even virtual reality experiences
Oh,
that can, like, totally immerse you in the world of the cards.
wow. Yeah, it's like tarot's becoming this like integrated part of our digital lives.
Exactly. And social media is playing a huge role in that too, you know?
That's for sure.
Like, we're seeing personalized readings being delivered through Instagram or TikTok,
Yeah.
which makes it super accessible,
Right.
especially for like younger generations.
It's like tarot is finding its own space,
Yeah,
in that whole world of online connection and self-expression.
for sure. But it brings up a really important question.
Okay, what's that?
With technology advancing so rapidly, how do we make sure that the essence of tarot,
Hmm.
like its intuitive wisdom, its symbolic depth,
Right.
how do we make sure that's not getting lost in all the digital noise?
That's such a good point. And I noticed the sources were wrestling with that a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like one article said, the key is to strike a balance between innovation and tradition.
Yeah.
So we can embrace the new technologies,
Hmm.
but without losing sight of like those core principles of tarot.
Exactly. It's like using technology to enhance the experience,
Yeah,
not to replace the human element entirely.
I love that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
even with all these advancements, I can't imagine tarot ever being like purely algorithmic.
Right.
There's something about that intuition
Hmm.
of a skilled reader that a machine just can't replicate.
It's true. And the sources back that up too. Like, one study found that people really appreciate the convenience
Okay.
and the accessibility of AI-powered readings,
Yeah.
but they still crave that empathy
Right.
and that nuanced understanding that a human reader can provide.
That makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
thinking about the future, what do you think happens to like the tarot readers themselves?
Yeah.
Like how does their role evolve in this like increasingly digital landscape?
Well, the sources suggest that readers are going to need to adapt and develop some new skills.
Like what?
Think about it, online interactions. They require really clear communication, strong intuition,
Right.
and the ability to build trust and rapport.
Oh, yeah.
But virtually.
Yeah, that's different.
It is, so it's not just about interpreting the cards anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding those digital nuances
Yeah.
and creating a connection through a screen.
It's like a whole new skill set.
It is. And as technology evolves,
Yeah.
I think those specialized skills are only going to become more and more important.
Like what kind of skills?
Well, readers who are really tech savvy
Okay.
and comfortable on all those different online platforms,
Yeah.
they're probably going to have an advantage in reaching a wider audience.
That makes sense.
It's like they're becoming the tech wizards
Yeah.
of the tarot world,
Yeah.
blending that ancient wisdom with modern tools.
I love that. And it's not just the tools that are evolving. It's
Right.
also the questions people are bringing to the readings.
Exactly. We're seeing a lot more focus on things like career,
Yeah.
purpose, and like just navigating the complexities of modern life.
It makes sense in a world that's constantly shifting. People are looking to tarot for guidance and support through those transitions.
Exactly. And that's where that blend of human intuition and technological innovation can be super powerful.
Yeah.
Imagine a reader who can not only interpret the cards, but also connect those insights
Mm-hmm.
with like relevant resources,
Yeah.
articles,
Yeah.
maybe online communities that can support the client on their journey.
Wow, that's amazing. It really paints such a vibrant picture of what the future of tarot could be.
Doesn't it? It's ancient and modern, personal and connected, intuitive and tech savvy all at the same time.
That's incredible. And it's even more exciting.
What's that?
We're only at the beginning of this journey. Like, who knows what incredible possibilities are out there
Right.
as tarot continues to kind of weave itself into our lives.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be exploring tarot.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. I feel like we've uncovered so much.
We have.
The whole sugarcoating versus honesty debate, the history of tarot.
Mm-hmm.
We even got a glimpse into its future. What stood out to you the most? What are you going to take away from this whole conversation?
For me, it's the reminder that tarot, at its core, is a tool for self-discovery and empowerment.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking for comfort or clarity or just a deeper understanding of yourself, those cards offer a really powerful framework for exploration.
That's beautifully said, and I think that's the perfect note to end on.
I agree.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of online tarot readings.
It's been a pleasure.
If you were to get a tarot reading today, what would you prioritize, comfort or unvarnished truth?
That's a great question for our listeners to ponder.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring that fascinating world of tarot, and remember the most important journey is the one within.